I remember when the news broke about Inky back in 2016. He was a resident at the National Aquarium over in New Zealand. One morning the staff walked in and found his tank empty. No broken glass, no dodgy locks, just a wet trail across the linoleum leading to a 6-inch wide drainpipe. Old Inky had simply decided he'd had a gutful of the human experience. He'd squeezed that football-sized body of his through a tiny gap and navigated 50 meters of pipe straight back to the Pacific. But Inky wasn't a one-off. There was Otto, a young fella at a German aquarium who figured out the overhead lights were a bit too bright for his liking. He'd climb to the edge and squirt a jet of water at the bulb to short-circuit his display and half the gallery. 3 nights in a row, he did it. We reckon these creatures are clever because they act like us, but Inky and Otto are proving something much more radical. Intelligence isn't always a single brain giving orders from the top down. The smartest systems in nature may not have a commander at all. They have a network. G'day. Alistair Thorne here from Townsville, Australia. Welcome to the Curious Minds podcast. Now, I'm 62 years young, but I've still got my boots in the mud and my eyes on the reef. I still take an active interest in marine biology, mostly because the older I get, the more I'm simply fascinated by all the different forms of intelligence. I've spent a fair chunk of my life with salt on my glasses and the smell of rotting mangroves in my nose at the labs around here. Now, I'll tell you straight, none of the systems we're talking about today think like humans. But they solve problems in ways that make our top-down logic look a bit primitive. Right now, everyone's flat out talking about artificial intelligence. But AI is mostly just a prediction engine built on patterns we've already left behind. Biological intelligence. That's different. These organisms solve problems with their bodies and their surroundings, and they don't need a CEO to do it. We're going to audit 3 stories of a decentralized mind, systems that have been thriving while we were still figuring out which end of the stick to hold. Let's start with the octopus. We usually reckon they're thinking with a single brain calling the shots. But the biology says otherwise. 2/3 of an octopus's neurons are actually in its arms. That means each arm can act semi-independently. It's processing local info without waiting for a signal from head office. If an arm gets severed, and I've seen this in the field, it'll keep grasping and moving for hours on pure reflex. Not one brain, not one boss. A distributed system, and they've got the software to match. Think of it like this. Our DNA is the blueprint, the permanent plan. But RNA is the work order, the instructions sent to the factory floor. While we wait millions of years for our blueprint to evolve, the octopus can dynamically fine-tune its instructions through RNA editing. It's a biochemical adaptation. If the water turns freezing, they rewrite their own instructions in real time to keep the lights on. This is a biological hack that tells us no commander, just network. It's why engineers are now looking at soft robotics, building tools that can navigate a disaster zone without needing a master brain to tell every finger how to twitch. Now, we're going to step down the complexity ladder. If Inky is a high-tech hacker, this next genius is a simple puddle of yellow slime in the scrub. 0 neurons, no brain at all. In that 2010 study everyone talks about, researchers put some oat flakes on a map of Tokyo. within a day, that slime mold, without a single bit of conscious planning, had grown a network almost identical to the Tokyo subway. A system our best engineers took decades to build. We assumed it was just random, but it's actually a master of logistics using spatial chemistry. It doesn't remember like we do. It remembers by leaving the map behind. It leaves a trail of translucent slime, a physical external memory that tells the rest of the organism, "Oh, don't bother going that way, mate, it's a dead end." Problem solving is an emergent property of living. Again, no commander, just network. In the future, our traffic grids shouldn't be managed by a central computer. They should behave like a slime mold, reinforcing what works and ditching what doesn't. Our third story is right under your feet in the bush. One of the largest organisms we know of is a fungus in Oregon, covering over 2,300 acres. This wood wide web connects the roots of every tree in the forest. It can facilitate nutrient exchange and signals using electrical impulses. Now, I have to be careful here because you've got to separate the data from the drama. The scientific debate is still active on this one. While the idea of mother trees acting like a socialist forest is a popular story, recent critiques in journals like Nature say the evidence for altruistic cooperation is a bit thin. It might be a stretch to call it a fantasy, but we have to be disciplined. The evidence points toward a network that manages the health of the whole system, but it's likely more about systemic balance than conscious kindness. It's network intelligence. In nature's most successful systems, the smarts are in the connections. No commander, just network. Think about the contrast. An octopus has no bones. A slime mold has no brain. A fungus has no body. And yet, all three solve problems we're still struggling with. We're so caught up in building AI that mimics our own I-centered way of thinking. But these species are saying, we connect, therefore we survive. You see, we still use the Turing test. We define smart as how well can you mimic a human. But that is a narrow, arrogant way to look at the world. Truth is, measuring their brilliance against a human IQ test is almost an insult to what they've achieved. If an octopus looked at us, it'd see a clumsy, single-brained creature that can't even change its skin color to hide from a predator. We aren't the only geniuses on Earth. We're just the ones with the loudest microphones. So, what's the takeaway for you? Maybe intelligence isn't about being the boss of your life every second. In nature, survival doesn't come from control. It comes from coordination. Sometimes the best way forward is to trust the connections you've built rather than trying to micromanage the outcome from the top down. The most alien intelligence on Earth didn't arrive from space. It evolved right beside us, and we're only just learning how to see it. I'm Alistair Thorne. This is Curious Minds Podcast. Stay curious, stay sharp, and maybe keep an eye on the drain pipes.